This is a HeadGum podcast.
Folks, it's time to get Quip. Me and Joe do it. It makes toothbrushing easy. Brushing your teeth, just like making love. It's the kind of thing you don't really know if you're doing it right till you start doing it right. And folks, Quip is brushing done right. It's the new electric toothbrush that packs just the right amount of vibrations into a slimmer design at a fraction of the cost of bulkier traditional electric brushes. It has guiding pulses that alert you when to switch sides, making brushing just the right amount of effortless. It's true, you really don't have to think about it. It lets you know when to move on to another quadrant of your mouth. Quip also comes with a mount that suctions right to your mirror and unsticks to use as a cover for hygienic travel anywhere, whether it's going in your gym bag or your carry-on. And because the thing that cleans your mouth should also be clean, Quip's subscription plan, or subquiption plan, surprised they didn't think of that, I'll have to let them know, refreshes your brush on a dentist-recommended schedule. They deliver new brush heads every 3 months for just $5, including free shipping worldwide. Quip's backed by a network of over 10,000 dental professionals, including dentists, hygienists, and dental students. Most toothbrushes don't get named one of Time Magazine's best inventions of the year, but Quip did. It's time to find out for yourself why. Quip starts at just $25, and if you go to getquip.com/CU right now, you'll get your first refill pack free with a Quip electric toothbrush. That's your first refill pack free at getquip.com/CU. GETQUIP.com/CU. Folks, it's going to be love at first brush. Hello, everybody. Apologies for the brief hiatus. We were off for 2 weeks doing our personal projects, but now we are back. We're seeing you live. We're seeing you in hell. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I'm a little tired of beating around the bush here. Let's just get right to it. On with the show, and on with the show! Oh, yeah.
It sounds more and more like a pedophile that runs a candy store. Like a curly mustached, you know what I mean?
I do. That's what I strive to be.
How have you been, Walsh? It's been I haven't seen you in about a week and a half.
It's been a real long time, especially for us. But absence makes the heart grow fungus, as they say. Joe was in Australia for the Crocodile Dundee Comedy Festival, which is run by Mr. Paul Hogan.
Movie festival. It was the Crocodile Dundee Movie Festival.
Oh, okay. They just ran the 3 over and over?
Yeah. And then films of lesser notoriety that were influenced by the original Crocodile Dundee films.
Your Young Einstein starring Yahoo Serious.
He actually was running a competing festival.
Oh, holy shit. He's Australian as well, right?
Yeah, but he was really spitting in the face of Hogan. He's tired of it, he said.
Well, I mean, was he a huge Australian comedian that they tried to push here? I was a little too young to know what was going on. I saw the video box. I was like, who is this? Why did they give him a movie?
I actually have sort of an answer for this.
Okay, great.
Because I was there for the Melbourne Comedy Festival, which thank you again to everybody. It was a really beautiful experience.
Melbourne runs that, right?
Yes. Yeah. Right. Yes, he's a Jewish guy that lives in Australia. Yeah. Really wonderful time. Pat, I will say it, I've never, and I'm not, this is not bullshit, and you know me, I am not a people person. I've never met more beautifully spirited people than I've ever met in Australia. They were
great,
accommodating and welcoming and wonderful.
I've always heard that I should head down there. I've never been.
Yeah, it was really great. But we were sitting out drinking one night, me and a bunch of other comics who were from there, and they kind of got annoyed when I asked this because they thought I was giving them shit, but I wasn't. But I was like, what's going on with Paul Hogan and Yahoo Serious?
Did they have a beef?
No. I just meant like in general. Like, what are those guys up to?
Right.
And they were like, the Americans are at it again. And I was like, no. I'm not saying that to be funny. Like, I'm really curious. Like, they were huge in our country for a little while. And
Not
now,
Yahoo.
He was pretty fucking big. I remember he was doing all the late night TVs when.
He was a stand-up.
No. When Young Einstein came out, he was doing all the like Carson and all that shit because they were making this big deal. Like, he wrote it, he directed it, he produced it, he starred in it, and then it was this massive fucking bomb because it was a terrible movie.
But who was he?
Oh, wow, that I don't know.
What was he in something that I'm going to look him up?
Well, they could. Here's the thing: when I was like, so what are those guys doing here now?
Right.
They were like, I mean, they're not any more relevant here than they are where you're at. Like, we haven't heard from them either.
Right.
So nobody seems to know the whereabouts of Hogan and Sirius. I'm assuming Yahoo Sirius was a stand-up.
Well, now I'm going to look him up. I mean, we're coming back with the opposite of a bang. Anyone tuning in now is like, what is this, a fucking Yahoo Sirius podcast?
Are Yahoos serious? Yeah, there you go.
He's 63. His name is Greg Gomez Pede. He's married to Lulu Sirius. They've divorced.
And he took on her name.
He created Reckless Kelly and Mr. Accident. So he thought of himself as like the next Jerry Lewis or something. Like he was doing all of his stuff.
Mr. Accident, I'm assuming, is like a Mr. Bean.
I guess so.
With like more cuckoo bird noises.
Oh, now here's a dark twist.
It's been pretty dark so far.
In August 2000, Yahoo Sirius tried to sue the search engine Yahoo for trademark infringement. Oh, man.
Oh, boy.
The case was thrown out because Sirius could not prove that he sells products or services under the name Yahoo.
Oh, boy.
They were like, you don't sell anything. No one buys anything you're selling. We hate you. That's dark.
That's a rough one, man. That and the Joni from Happy Days news all in 1 week. I can't really handle all this. This is too much bright stars from the past that have burned out. Okay, the film's popularity propelled Sirius to stardom, which saw him appear on the cover of Time and Mad Magazine. Oh, big deal. Time Magazine. And even got him his own primetime slot on MTV. It was a huge success in Australia, but a critical and commercial flop in the U.S. So there we go. Time Magazine he was on the cover of. That I don't really believe. I do. I remember there was so much fucking hype around that movie, man. They were like, look, sometimes it worked. How did it bomb? Just because it was so terrible, I guess. It's a terrible movie. Yeah. I saw it when I was 11. I may have rented it at some point and washed it from my memory. Even at 11, I was spitting at the screen, and it was infuriating. But sometimes it works out with these foreign guys. Yeah. Sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes you get a Yakov Smirnoff. Right. Sometimes you get a Yahoo Sirius. Well, Smirnoff never ventured into film. No, but he certainly sustained his thing for way long. I just saw Yahoo Sirius on At Midnight. So he's still... You mean Yakov Smirnoff? Or Yakov Smirnoff, yes. Was he still doing well, Russia's hot again. He's probably loving this. Oh, that's a good point. Yeah, he can do Trump stuff. He was doing like a millennial... It was like a millennial Russian man character. I forget. I don't know. You know, Joe, I sometimes watch at midnight, but in the Soviet Union, At Midnight watches me. Is that like a shadow government, like a red? That's a classic. Yahoo Sirius would always do. You know, in America, Smirnoff. You watch TV, but in Russia, TV watches you. Okay, that was like his classic setup. Because like. No, but I'm saying Big Brother. That's a commentary on the Big Brother. Yeah. That's not just... Yeah. Well, look. In Soviet Union. Yeah, I wasn't a big fan. No. You know? No. So I'm trying to think who else this has happened with. Well, Trevor Noah's a guy, right? He's South African. John Oliver. I'm just saying guys with accents from other places that became famous here. I don't know what happens all the time. Most of our big actors are always pretending to be American. That's a good point. Tons of them. It's, in fact, the star of tonight's movie. That's true, yes. Hugh Jackman. And I feel like in tonight's movie, which we're not going to get to just yet,
he thought bellowing his lines would cover it up, and it worked. He really bellowed in this movie.
I'd like to make note for our loyal fan base. That was second time we had a perfect transition, didn't run with it. Last time was Clown with It. I blew it for you. You blew that one for me.
Well, if I had started into Prisoners, you would have been like, no, we got to do the things.
Well, we do. I know we got to do the things. I'm just saying that's two really great segues we had.
Yes.
Do you have anything to talk about? I mean, I don't know what you can or cannot talk about at this point with your pilot.
Yeah,
or whatever else is going on.
I might as well just get right into it, folks. I mean, there is a little big news for us both here. I think it's fine to say because the pilot is locked. I turned in the final cut today. It has been well received by everybody who needs to receive it well. It tested fantastically in the Las Vegas area, which is another reason why I love the Las Vegas area.
Yep.
And now I wait. I've got about 2 weeks till I hear. But I couldn't be any happier with it. It turned out wonderfully. And folks, there's an asshole in the script named Gary. The character is named Gary, and he is a philanderer, a cheater, a dick. Everybody in the office hates him and talks at length about how much they hate him.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought to myself, I got to get Joe in for an audition. So he was written in the thing as like being like a kind of a six-pack type guy, which has been quite the subject of discussion around there. But we saw all these people audition, and we had some good people. But our three finalists were all kind of like guys we liked. They all kind of fit the same mold. They were good-looking guys who were standard douchebags. I said, why don't we bring in Joe? I didn't tell anyone he was my friend. They were like, yeah, we can see somebody else. Joe came in. Folks, he got the part. Not through nepotism, because it had to go up. CBS passed on almost every actor we wanted. I don't want them. I don't want them. They approved Joe DeRosa.
And it felt good.
Yeah.
It felt good. It felt good to be part of it. I'd slide right into those roles.
You did.
I know how to play a real piece of shit.
So if this goes, not only will you get to see this dream project of mine come to fruition, but you'll get to see Joe on CBS, which, I mean, Joe's generally not a network performer. Middle America's not really ready for it.
No, my agent said to me 2 years ago, you're not going to be a network guy, so don't worry about this pilot season stuff. You're going to be a cable guy. And I was like, okay, that's fine with me. And so far, he was right. But
he meant a cable installer is what your agent meant, because the parts weren't coming.
But this was as much a surprise to me as it could have been to anybody. But it was now, if I can say a few nice words, actually, nothing you just said was that nice.
Of course it was. You got the part and you killed it.
It was really a blast. Pat Walsh up there running the show. The showrunner is the title for those of you that don't live in Hollywood. That's the job title. I watched him run the show, and he ran it like a champ. And I can tell you, folks, I've worked for a lot of my friends. This was a painless experience. There was never once that moment where you're like, oh, my friend does that when he's at work.
I tried to avoid that.
It was smooth sailing. Wonderful cast of people. Worked with some actors that I've admired for many, many years who I now correspond with.
It was just a really, like, top to bottom, perfect cast. Everybody was great. And, if I may toot my horn, I felt very confident in the material. And I had a bunch of alts at the ready in case something didn't work. I over-prepared to a fault, perhaps. But we were just ready to go. And the whole thing could not have gone more smoothly. It was a blast. Joe and I got to spend like a week, at work, which we haven't done. It was very fun. There were no explosions. We didn't scream. Nobody screamed.
No.
The director, Mr. Andy Ackerman, directed the final 5 seasons of Seinfeld, so he was a legend for me to meet. He ran a very calm, tight ship as well, and I just felt like a great kinship and a partnership with him. Everybody was happy. Everybody hung out together. Everybody went out after and had a nice time. It was just a great group of people.
It was
a
wonderful.
Great experience.
It was wonderful.
And I hope it continues. I mean, that's the beautiful thing is that it could go on for 7 years or something.
It was a wonderful time. I actually found myself missing all of you just a week later.
Yeah, everybody has said that. There's a little, sadness.
Yeah, but Andy's the best. Also directed everything. Becker, which I love. Raymond, great show. Cheers, yeah. For Christ's sakes.
I might as well break out the cast for you. I mean, there's nothing to hide at this point. We're all just waiting. The cast is J.R. Ferguson, who portrayed Stan on Mad Men.
Wonderful man.
Oh, he's the best. He nailed an extremely difficult part. Lindsay Kraft, who you may know, I guess, from like Grace and Frankie, and she's done, what's the HBO medical show? Getting On.
Wonderful woman.
She's had bit parts in all kinds of great comedy stuff. She's delightful. Cameron Manheim of Happiness, which we always discuss on this show. The Practice. You know Cameron Manheim.
Manheim was in Happiness?
She had the head in her freezer.
Now I want to watch Happiness again.
It's the first thing I said to her. She was like, no one ever approaches me about Happiness. But I was like, hey, I didn't watch The Practice, babe. That's what I know.
She was wonderful. And
Sarah Gilbert from Roseanne. A real treat meeting her. I grew up with her. She dated, of course, Mr. Johnny Galecki, who was producing the piece on Roseanne, and maybe in real life, pre-lesbianism. I don't know. I guess I should ask.
They were
Tony Rock.
They were both awesome.
Tony Rock, Chris Rock's brother, and a fantastic comedian in his own right.
Old friend of mine. I've known Tony for 10 years.
CBS is describing it as a star-making performance. He's delightful.
He's great.
June Squibb, Academy Award nominee June Squibb.
About Schmidt,
Nebraska. I'm throwing alts at this woman. I'm like, hey, instead of this, say this. Instead of this, say this. Add this, subtract this. She's 87. She'd be like, yeah, I got it. Nailed it every time. She was perfect. Who else was in the damn thing?
Well, you had Ian Gomez.
Oh, Christ. Ian Gomez, scene stealer. Just a fantastic actor. You know him from all kinds of things. Curb Your Enthusiasm, Felicity back in the day, My Big Fat Greek Wedding, etc. And then the amazing Mr. David Krumholtz, who is just a killer, a very, very funny man. You know him from Apatow shit. You know him from
Harold and Kumar.
You know him from Slums of Beverly Hills, where he dances in his underpants, a classic scene.
It's my my favorite movie of his, and that's one of my favorite things I've ever seen, is that I was so excited when I found out he was part of the show.
Yeah, I mean, it's just... You watch it, and generally, I've seen it now 800 times, and every new scene starts, you're like, oh, good, it's this scene, which is a good feeling. I would be very angry and confused if they didn't pick it up. I don't want to talk too much more about it, but we've given you all the key information. Hopefully you get to see it someday. That's all I can really say.
Hey, everybody was wonderful.
Yeah.
Everybody was just great. It was just a
blast. And we shot it in front of a live audience, which was awesome.
By the way, a real thrill because, sitcoms, look, everybody agrees. A multicam sitcom with a live audience, when it's good, it's great. Yeah. And when it's not good, it's terrible.
Sure.
So it was fun to be part of a good one. And as a comic, it was very rewarding, if not a little frightening, but in a good way.
Yeah.
To have that pressure of being up there and having to get a laugh and all that stuff. And, it has the immediacy of stand-up in a reward sense. But then you also get the bonus of the acting where you can do it a couple times and change things and whatever. So it was really great.
Yeah, the only real issue, and it was more an issue in editing, was the tonnage of jokes. Laughs were stepping on jokes and throwing off timing here and there, but that happens. People get used to it. But you can see, especially in the first takes when we were editing it, the actors look a little thrown almost by the laughter, because when you rehearse it, it's like two people watching it. And you do it over and over, and then people are like, am I not funny? Do you not like this? And I'm like, just please, just wait for the audience.
By the way, that wasn't me yelling like that.
No. The other amusing part of testing and Warner Brothers seeing it and CBS seeing it, everybody was like, we're concerned about the likability of Joe. So then everyone kept saying it, and I was like, you're not supposed to like him. He's the asshole. You're not supposed to like him. And then finally in the big discussion with CBS where they saw the final run-through and had their final notes before tape night, she was like, look, we just, you can feel it. People are creeped out by Joe, and they're not really liking Joe. And then Ackerman, who rarely speaks, I mean, to executives anyway, he was sitting in the corner, and he goes, then I guess I did my job. And she goes, what? She's like, I guess we did our job. I mean, he's supposed to be an unlikable creep. So if you're saying he's unlikable and creepy, sounds like we did our job.
Yeah.
And then I think they were delighted and surprised when you came out and got laughs.
Yes.
But all these executives were married women, and you could see in their face they were like, ugh, I hate this guy. But that was necessary for the plot, and we're not going to spoil it, but it was necessary for where the plot goes.
It was absolutely necessary, and I think we found a few things that gave him some likability
absolutely
further down the line of the story. But yeah, it was. I was actually quite shocked when we shot it in front of the audience how many laughs that character got earlier in the script when he's being the most creepy.
I agree.
I was like, oh, okay, well, they're on board. They get that this is supposed to be funny, and whatever. So.
Yeah, and everybody works with an asshole. That's the thing is that, Hollywood people forget that there are assholes in every office,
Yeah.
There was a joke that wound up not being in it, but something about how the office was all thrown into a tizzy because somebody had microwaved cauliflower, and Cameron came over and was like, I don't get why this is who cares if you microwave cauliflower? I was like, anyone who works in an office knows the office reeks when you microwave cauliflower or fish or whatever else.
Right. And
we did it and got a laugh. It's not in the show, but I was just kind of like, people, actors, executives, etc., they're not in the world that they are doing these shows for. Which I think is why there's often a huge disconnect.
I broke off from you mentally there just for a second.
I understand.
Because I had a fantasy when you said the point of my character was to not be likable.
Yeah.
I had this jump cut in my head to 5 years from now. Show's a success. I'm in some really serious interview wearing an ascot, maybe on inside the actor's studio with whoever the new host is.
They bring it back.
Yeah.
Who would be the new host?
I'm gonna go with Matt Damon.
No, what are you talking about?
Well, he does those Project Greenlight things and everything.
No, it would have to be somebody that pompous who's not really a big actor. It wouldn't be Matt Damon.
Well, maybe they'd learn from their mistakes and they bring
Matt Damon is he's a humble, very successful actor.
I agree with that. I'm saying maybe they go the other direction.
All right.
I'm thinking out of the box right now.
All right.
Somebody who wants to support the young actor.
I think that's a good question, and I'm going to come back to it. Who would be the new... You know who would be? Probably like Billy Bush. His return to television.
Sure.
All right, go on.
I'll tell you, the question was great for the momentum of my story.
Go on, Joe.
But then in the interview, I say, I never saw Gary as the bad guy. I always saw everybody else as the bad guy. And then it jump cuts from that to the headline of me saying that, and then the show gets canceled.
Yeah, you have to love your characters. They do always say that.
Remember when Gary Oldman got in trouble? It was so crazy when he did that movie about... What was that movie about the vice president where everybody jizzed on her in the video and Jeff Bridges is the president?
Fuck.
The Contender, yeah.
Wait, everyone jizzed on her? I thought it was like one sexual encounter.
I think it was a gangbang video.
Oh, my God.
I think. I can't remember.
All right.
But it was a sex video. But anyway...
I saw it.
Gary Oldman plays like the right-wing guy who's going after her. And I remember Gary Oldman said in an interview, he's like, well, I looked at my character as the good guy.
Yeah.
Which he clearly was saying, like, obviously, if you're playing that part, you got to believe you're right.
Yeah.
He's the guy that he thinks he's good.
Yeah.
And he got in all this shit, and there was all this... I was like, that guy's a fucking actor playing a part in a movie. Who gives a shit?
Yeah.
Anyway, Patty, we're 22 minutes in. We haven't even cracked...
Yeah, we should get it moving because Joe and I are going to see the Pixies tonight.
Yeah,
which I'm very excited about. As far as Movie Corner, I mean, until this afternoon, about 2 hours ago, I have done nothing except stuff for this pilot. Except one night, I couldn't sleep due to nerves, and I went upstairs and watched Problem Child, Problem Child 2, and The Remains of the Day with Anthony Hopkins and Emma Thompson.
All right.
I'm going to tell you, Problem Child 1 holds up in a big ol' way, except the third act is a fucking disaster.
Uh-huh.
Problem Child 2 does not hold up at all, save for some amazing weird little jokes like the one I sent you. There is a scene where these two dog catchers, they're just normal guys, they're 40 years old, kind of ugly guys. They're coming to pick up a dog. And they go knock on the door, and Junior, the kid's like, yeah, I'll go and get him. Hang on. He turns around. And while the kid goes back inside, the one dog catcher runs his fingers through the other dog catcher's hair and leans in to kiss him. These are two men, and he goes, not now. Then the kid comes out, they give him the dog, and the dog catchers leave. I wound up sending this bit to like 5 people. I was like, this is a brilliant joke buried in Problem Child 2. Clearly they were like, this scene's so boring we ought to give it something. It's a movie for children. But what I loved about it was that even in this, it was at the height of like gay panic and like every joke was about that. They just presented these men as secret lovers.
Yeah.
Who had to keep it undercover.
Yeah, and they're real butchy when they walk up to the door. It's not like one of them is giving off any scent of being effeminate or anything like that.
Right.
So they really handled it quite respectfully, if I may say so.
They did. And we talked about this last time because I heard him on the Gilbert Gottfried podcast, but it was those guys who did Ed Wood and People vs. Larry Flint and the O.J. Show. They're incredibly talented. They started their career with the 2 Problem Child movies. So, obviously they're talented guys, and that's probably why that joke slipped in there. And The Remains of the Day I had never seen because I always find British movie like period pieces boring. About butlers and everything, Downton Abbey. I can't get through it.
I hate shit like that.
Always have, probably always will. But I was riveted by this thing for 2.5 hours. They get into the inner workings of butlerism. Anthony Hopkins was almost as good as he was in Silence of the Lambs. It's one of his best performances. That was a real streak couple of years for him.
I mean, you're saying all the wrong shit right now. 2.5 hours, a movie about butlerism.
I got to tell you,
period piece. And none of this is exciting to me.
Part of it is like, it was almost, I love movies so much, and I hadn't seen one in so long that this night was, it was like when you get a drink of water after you've been in the desert or something. But I love the movie. I was riveted by it. It was very sad. I almost cried at the end. It's just a story about a guy who can't express his emotions, and maybe that's why it hit home for your boy, Pat Walsh.
Well, Patty, love to hear it. I'm glad that you enjoyed it.
I did. I loved it.
I'm going to keep mine brief. I've seen a lot of stuff.
Go for it.
But I'm only going to talk about 2 briefly.
All right.
The first is one we've talked about before, but I finally saw Army of One, the Nicolas Cage movie, while I was on the plane.
Yeah.
Can't tell if it was great or bad. I liked it. Cage's performance is a new definition of chewing the scenery. And then I went and watched interviews with the real guy. He's nothing like that at all.
And I talked about it on this show, and I hated the movie, but I was so fascinated by the performance that I watched the extra features. And they were like, once we saw this guy, we were like, oh, Nick, you can't even go too far with this guy. He's a pretty normal guy. Yeah. Eccentric, but not. Nicolas Cage played him at his most coked out and crazy.
I watched an interview with, I went down a real rabbit hole on YouTube after I watched this movie.
Yeah.
And I was watching interviews with Nick Cage to see like what he had thought about this. I was like, did he hate this guy? What?
Right.
And but I found a Good Morning Detroit or something interview with him where they had him via satellite.
Okay.
And he's like, and I forget the guy's name, Gary. He goes, once I met Gary, I realized he can't stop talking. He doesn't shut up. You're not going to get a word. And like he was saying it with a certain level of disgust. And I was like, I think he actually just didn't like this guy and chose to just completely lambast him. Yeah. But then he also said, they go, you look so good, Nick. In the movie, you look terrible.
Right.
So, fuck you to this Gary guy.
Of course,
that he able to make himself. And he's like, yeah, I grew the beard out. I dyed my hair. Got a gut, which I didn't enjoy. I liked going to the gym. So, Cage just feeling himself real serious.
Sure.
So I saw that, and I rewatched on the plane, amongst many other new films, which we'll talk about on the next episode. But I rewatched Jurassic Park 3, and here's why I bring this up.
I haven't seen it since the theater.
I'm going to goddamn say it right now.
All right.
It's the best Jurassic Park movie.
Stop it. Stop it.
It's the best Jurassic Park movie.
Joe, I mean...
It's the best Jurassic...
You make my job easy.
It's the best Jurassic Park movie.
You make my job easy.
It's the best... Let me pose the argument. Why?
All right.
The movie that you haven't seen since the theater when you were, what, 15?
Probably. And I knew I don't need to see this again. I do own it because I have the trilogy.
2 is a worthless pile of shit.
I don't think I've seen 2 since the theater, but 1 is one of my favorite movies.
2 is worthless. Spielberg, I learned today, Spielberg directed it via monitor as he was directing Schindler's List.
That's offensive.
2 is not a good movie in any stretch. 1...
Wait. Schindler's List came out the same year as Jurassic Park.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Oh, he directed 1 via monitor.
No. He was directing when he was working on. Maybe he wasn't directing Schindler's List, but apparently he was prepping or working on Schindler's List, and he was directing Jurassic Park 2 via a monitor.
All right, that checks out.
So that's the first thing. So fuck Jurassic Park 2.
Okay.
Jurassic World to me doesn't even need to be in the discussion.
Didn't like it. Didn't hate it.
So now we're down to 2 movies. It's Jurassic Park versus Jurassic Park 3. I'm going to tell you why Jurassic Park 3 is better. There's no bullshit with a park. There's no bullshit with we got to wait and build up to this. They drop these fuckers on the island. There is no park. They're just in a goddamn jungle with dinosaurs after them. You got Bill Macy.
It sounds like Kong Skull Island.
But it was fun. It was better than Kong Skull Island. You got William. It's the same plot. They're just trying to get to the boat the whole time. It's literally the same plot.
Right.
But you got William H. Macy. You got Téa Leoni looking just at her greatest of all time.
Never my thing, but I love Macy, of course.
You got Sam Neill returns.
Didn't even remember that.
Which is exciting. He comes back. The scene where they're walking through like the hanging metal rafters and it's all foggy, and then the camera it cuts to a shot of Sam Neill and they do like the slow Jaws push in.
Uh-huh.
And he goes, "Oh my God. This is a bird cage." And then through the fog, you see a pterodactyl walk out, and it's this crazy pterodactyl sequence. It was fucking awesome. It was awesome. Jurassic Park,
Stop.
The raptor parts were cooler in this because the raptors could communicate.
Now, let me ask you. You're a bit older than me, not much, but when you saw Jurassic Park when you were a kid, you
hated it.
I don't believe you.
I hated it. It was the first movie I ever saw that had heavy CGI in it, and I didn't like it.
Holy shit.
I went to see it with my friends Kevin McNew and Mike Kaczynski. We were sophomores in high school. My friend Kevin said, I've been waiting for a year for this movie to come out. I can't wait. I was like, I don't see what the big deal is. I don't find dinosaurs particularly scary because that was the whole discussion we had in the Kong thing. A giant monster isn't that scary to me. So I wasn't scared. And then as far as stuff being cool, the Tyrannosaurus Rex sequence is pretty cool, and I like when
the raptor sequence is very...
The raptor sequence is cool too, but the raptor...
It's all just perfect, really. I mean, it's almost a perfect movie. I saw it when I was 12, and it became my favorite movie, unseating Home Alone, which had unseated Roger Rabbit before it.
I mean,
and then I probably watched...
You just said it unseated Home Alone, and this is your bar quality.
Well, I was 12, but Home Alone remains one of my favorite movies.
Fine, I like Home Alone just fine, but I'm saying, can you say? Listen to what you're saying. You're saying I was 12.
Yeah, but now I was going to continue.
Okay, sorry.
I've seen Jurassic Park at least every couple years for the remainder of my life, including when they re-released it about 5 years back in 3D. I got high, saw it. I was like, it's like seeing it for the first time again. I think it's one of Spielberg's best.
Oh, that's insane.
And I think it is one of the better thrillers maybe ever made.
I'll accept the second statement. One of Spielberg's best? That's insane.
Sorry.
That's insane.
Sorry.
Schindler's List.
And
Raiders of the Lost Ark. Close Encounters of the Third Kind. Jaws. You're putting fucking Jurassic Park up there with those films?
I'm putting it, yes.
That's nuts.
I mean, I'm not going to compare it to Schindler's List because that's not really a fair comparison. But yeah, I mean,
Minority Report is better than Jurassic Park.
I like Jurassic. It's not. I like Jurassic Park more than E.T.
E.T.'s fucking pussy shit. You know,
Right.
I was never, even as a kid, I didn't like E.T. that much.
No, I really do. I mean, and again, when you see a movie when you're 12 and you've like never seen a horror movie, it holds a special place. But I feel like if Jurassic Park came out today, I'd still fucking love it. I will rewatch 3. I pledge that to you. By the next podcast, I will have watched 3 again.
I listen. 3 without question has a thinner plot, without question. But as far as a movie that I enjoy watching, I enjoyed it more. I thought the action sequences were cooler. I thought it was more intense. I don't know. I just enjoyed it more.
It's from the director of Jumanji, so that might explain the intensity you're talking.
Do you know who wrote it?
No.
Who co-wrote it? Excuse me, Alexander Payne.
Oh yeah, I did know that actually. He did a lot of. He did like worked on Meet the Parents and all kinds of shit.
Well, hold on, I've been saving this joke for 4 days. Alexander Payne co-wrote Jurassic Park 3, which explains the sudden appearance of an alcoholic writer dinosaur.
Wow! And did you look it up on your phone? You're looking at your phone. Did you write the joke on your phone? So
I wrote Jurassic Park 3 - Alexander Payne. That made me
Wow.
That's how I knew for the bit. I only looked at my phone because I lost confidence in it halfway through it.
Right.
Which explains the sudden appearance of, you could do a lot of these.
Yeah.
Of a dinosaur driving an RV.
Did you have affection for 3 going in? Did you remember loving it? Or
no, I saw all 3 movies essentially against my will.
All right.
In the theater because people were like, we got to go see it. It's the thing to do. Hated the first one. Now, listen, let me say this. If I rewatched Jurassic Park now, I don't think I would hate it still, but I still think I would like 3 better.
Okay. But you wouldn't hate it.
I saw all 3 in the theater. Hated's too strong a word. Didn't give a fuck about the first one.
All right.
Hated the second one. That shit with the dinosaur peeking in the kid's bedroom window. Fuck off.
Look, and the Godzilla stuff. I mean, I remember enjoying.
Third one I liked. I went in begrudgingly, and then I really liked it.
I remember thinking 3 was. I thought about 3 about how I felt about Jurassic World. Fine, I'll never watch it again. 2 had some good moments amidst the shit, but yeah, I mean, 1 is a classic to me.
Man, that writer joke really bombed. I thought you would think that was funny.
Well, it's just me. I mean, it's not bombing. I just...
No, I kind of wrote it for you. I thought you'd like it.
Oh, all right.
Sometimes I do things for you, you know?
Yeah. All right.
Look, speaking of which, let's get on to today's movie. Pat told me the other night...
I got to tell you, I feel like I'm being held prisoner by that joke.
Pat told me the other night that he had already announced to the Facebook page that Prisoners would be our next film.
Yeah, I felt bad. And by the way, I need to give it a little more props because our membership is growing. Every time I log on to Facebook, which is very rare, I've got a bunch of requests to join.
Thank you, everybody. That's wonderful.
Just search We'll See You in Hell. I believe it's the only fan page up. And, people have been asking about merchandise. Joe and I are on it. We're not on it, but we're pretending to be on it. We're going to get on it. And
actually, I had some merch ideas.
We're going to do it.
Should I say them right now?
We talked about it a little bit before, but yeah, save them for now because we'll talk about them off air. But anyway, it was amazing to see people really go in depth, in detail into each episode and discuss and remember lines.
I know. I'm already waiting for the backlash I'm going to get about the Jurassic Park statements I've made. I'm still getting shit about The Sopranos. I'm still getting shit about Aliens.
Yeah.
Halloween 2.
Yeah. But it's a wonderful page, and Emily, who runs it, thank you so much. It's fantastic.
Thank you, Emily.
We essentially we forgot the first week. I mean, we've been really, really busy, so I wanted to say, hey, sorry, we're gone for 2 weeks, and also what's coming up. And you want to let people prep. We've been saying we're going to do Prisoners for months. We got to do it. And I think the next one will probably be Guardians of the Galaxy 2.
I am out of my skin excited to do Guardians of the Galaxy 2 because
I saw a tweet, so I know. Believe it or not, folks, I don't think Joe loved it.
I didn't see it yet.
Oh,
I didn't see it yet.
You just heard about it.
I was just tweeting about what I had read, that they had added Miley Cyrus in there somewhere, and they released a song that was like the theme song, and it's David Hasselhoff. The irony... The irony and 80s kitsch factor is so through the fucking roof already in just the advertising for this film and the soundtrack. I can't wait to see I'm going to say it right now. I'm the disaster that it is. I've read a ton of early reviews today that were all like, "Look, it's."
Oh, I thought it was already out.
No, I think it comes out Friday.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
Well, if it's not out in time, it won't be the next episode. Hopefully it will be. But I read a ton of early reviews today that the nicest thing anybody could say was, it's not as good as the first one, but it's still pretty entertaining.
Yeah.
A lot of reviews, though, were like, it's so full of itself, and it's so aware of how big it is and everything. And
well, don't go in with preconceived notions.
Well, look, I mean,
James Gunn, prior to Guardians of the Galaxy, which I loved, is a very talented and interesting but extremely uneven filmmaker. Like, he came out of the Troma world.
I like James Gunn.
I like him too. I'm just saying.
And I liked Guardians of the Galaxy 1, but it was before this fucking Marvel. And when I say Marvel, I'm referring only to Marvel Studios. I'm not talking about the Sony stuff.
Okay.
This Marvel train has gone off the fucking tracks.
Okay.
They are making John Hughes movies with people in capes. It's an absurdity at this point. It's an absurdity. And I'm not talking about the classic John Hughes movies. I'm talking the Dutch years.
I consider Dutch a classic.
Look,
I love that.
I like Dutch, but
Dutch is poor man's planes, trains, and automobiles, but I'll take poor man's planes, trains, and automobiles.
I'll take Dutch too, but my point is Dutch is not 16 Candles.
Right. Actually, Due Date is like homeless man's planes, trains, and automobiles. I hated Due Date. And Dutch deserves better than to be called the poor man's PTA.
So, speaking of the Marvel Universe, here's another joke I wrote just for this podcast.
Yeah.
I started watching this movie today, and I thought, man, this latest Wolverine film is very dark.
Oh, Prisoners.
Prisoners.
I got you. You needed to say Prisoners.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry. I fucked it up. But this movie is...
Our movie is Prisoners. Keep an eye on time, Joe, so we don't miss the Pixies, but... Prisoners, for me, I saw it like as an Academy Award screening type thing. You know, we get invited to all these screenings, and they send them to your house, and you go, and they're always kind of these boring prestige pictures, biopics. You know, you go, and you're kind of bored, and some of them are good, some of them are not. But then I was like, whoa, like this is like a nasty, dark thriller. I don't think it was nominated for anything, but it really blew me away. I thought... I like Gyllenhaal. I like Jackman. I'm sure it'll be fine, but I couldn't believe how good the movie was. For me, when I'm looking at like what is the serial killer genre, my top three from like my lifetime, like from 81 on, I'm talking about Silence of the Lambs. I'm talking about Seven, and I'm adding Prisoners to the list.
Yeah, I think as far as this type of serial killer film goes, Seven is probably the best one I've ever seen.
Sure, masterpiece.
But Prisoners could unseat it.
You thought better?
Well, I don't know yet. I haven't seen it as many times, right. It's a damn close second on a first watch. I'll say two things off the bat. Prisoners was so good it made me want to see The Arrival. And fewer movies have ever been released that I wanted to see less than The Arrival.
Well, Arrival was a letdown due to Prisoners. Sicario was the follow-up, and it's a better follow-up, you know.
And swollen Paul Dano will be haunting in my memory forever. And I was thinking today, I was mad that I already have another Twitter handle because I thought swollen Paul Dano would be a great Twitter handle.
Yeah. He looks like a pig or something. And it was so disturbing to me.
Yeah.
There's some real, like, shocking things in it, and they just kind of stay on them. The torture scenes are really aggressively uncomfortable, and they go on, and they're very well done. But that's the point of it. I mean, the point is, like, how far are you going to go? It's not rubbing your face, and it's not like Saw, where it's torture for the sake of torture.
Yeah, in fact, I would say that they kind of... the torture scenes went on less... They were less lengthy than I thought they would be.
Yeah.
Because everybody had said to me, this movie's brutal. It's brutal.
Yeah.
But, like, there's the scene where he's been punching Paul Dano, and it's, it's upsetting. But then he pulls out the hammer, and he's like, don't make me use this. And I'm like, holy shit, they're going to show him hit him with the hammer. But then he doesn't.
That's true.
So, but...
and then the guy's used restraint ever since. Denis Villeneuve, who's doing the new Blade Runner as well. But Roger,
the Prisoners guy's doing Blade Runner? Oh, now I want to see Blade Runner.
But Roger Deakins shot Prisoners. To me, cinematography-wise, because I don't agree with the thing of like if you don't notice the cinematography, then it's great. I like a little flash to it.
I agree.
And Roger Deakins is one of the greatest cinematographers of all time. He's the Coen Brothers guy. He shot Fargo, which is maybe the best shot movie ever. Every shot in Fargo I want to be mounted on my wall, particularly the parking lot, the snowed-in parking lot. I think that's one of the best shots ever. So Deakins did it. I mean, this is the same way. Every shot in it is like meticulously crafted. The story, in a way that almost sadly never happens, certainly in modern movies, screenplays have gotten lazier and lazier, and they're rewritten by 10 people, and you lose the thread. Everything makes sense in this, from start to finish.
Everything makes perfect sense. There's not an ounce in the movie, not an ounce of fat in the movie, and it's 2.5 hours, which is very, very hard to achieve. I was impressed at how much the studio allowed them clearly to keep this lengthy cut.
Yeah. And I'm sure it skirted an NC-17, I would imagine, just for intensity.
I bet you, yeah. But and tons of plot twists. That
work. That makes sense.
That make total sense. And then also, like, first of all, Gyllenhaal, you don't know who it's, it's obviously a whodunit because you don't know who done it.
Right.
But I've never seen a movie where I literally thought everybody at one point was a suspect.
Yeah.
There was even a part where I was like, wait a minute, did Hugh Jackman kill his own kids?
I know.
Wait, what happened? Gyllenhaal comes in so weird and creepy in that first scene. I was like, oh, so Gyllenhaal's the bad guy. Right. Then he gets in the car and he's the cop.
Right.
And then I'm like, well, wait. So he's a good guy. And then I was like, wait, no, maybe he's not. Maybe he did it.
Yeah.
He's got all these weird tattoos and shit. Like,
the characters have, like, Dano has a massive twist. Like, there are twists that do factor in, of course, to the end result, but you're also just kind of like, what a cool thing they did there, and gave that character this huge arc and twist that wasn't even really needed because the major. Did you see the final twist?
I saw the whole thing.
No, I mean, did you predict the final, who it was?
Oh, no. I mean, we can talk about it.
Yeah.
This has been a fan request.
It was 2013. I mean, come on.
My prediction, about halfway through the film. Well, my dad saw part of the movie with me before they flew out today.
Yeah.
My dad's prediction was the kid is going to shoot whoever the kidnapper is with a rifle at the end. That's why they did that deer scene in the opening. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. That could happen. My mom's prediction was, I think Paul Dano is going to turn out to be a girl.
Okay.
I don't know why she thought that, but that's what she thought. They left before the movie was over. I'd say 3/4 of the way through, what I thought was going to happen was the suspect that kills himself in the room, in the questioning room.
How great was that guy? Who I've never seen in anything before.
He was awesome.
Yeah.
I thought he was going to be the grown-up version of the kid that was missing, where the lady's like, he's been missing for 26 years.
Right.
I wasn't that far off on that, because he was a kid that was abducted, but then escaped, and that's why he was fucked up.
Yeah.
Paul Dano ends up being that kid, which I did not see coming at all. And I got so excited when Hugh Jackman, when he goes, he's got him in that shower, and he's like, something'll make you break. And then it cuts to him going to the aunt's house.
Oh, yeah.
I got excited because I was like, holy shit, this guy is out of his fucking mind. He's going to kidnap the aunt now. And then, but I didn't see the twist of the aunt being that fucked me up.
She was great. I mean,
well, it's Melissa Leo. I mean,
But there's that side. What?
Alexa, stop. My Alexa just went off.
Melissa Leo. Maybe that sounds like Alexa.
Sorry.
Anyway, thanks, Alexa. The little side trip to that priest's basement. Like there's so much like great creepy shit in it.
Yeah, and I thought that priest thing was just going to be in there as a red herring, and it was just going to be like, no, it turns out that's not related. And then when you find out, it's Melissa Leo's character's husband that was in that basement.
Which I gotta admit, for me, I think that was on the second viewing, because sometimes when I'm focusing so hard on one thing, the other things get a little fuzzy.
Sure.
I'm a little slow with things. But I was just so excited by it, and sometimes, especially in a suspense movie, I hate having to focus on the plot because I'm so rarely scared or on the edge of my seat, as they say.
Sure.
That I don't focus the way I should. Prisoners to me rewards like 12 views. It's like 7. I mean, I've seen Prisoners 6 times. I own it. Whenever it's on HBO, I wind up watching an hour and a half of it. It's I think it's one of the best movies of the past 10 years.
It's a phenomenal picture. And as I said to you earlier today, I loved it, and I was almost disappointed that I loved it so much because we've been quite amicable these last few episodes.
I know. Well, Guardians will probably split.
We haven't disagreed much, and I really was hoping I wouldn't like it just so we could disagree.
Yeah.
But I you know, there was no cell in my brain that could rightfully dislike this film.
I loved it. I've been trying to get you to watch it forever. It's one of those that somehow, like I looked up and worldwide or whatever, it made $100 and something million, but it wasn't a smash really. And it's one of those that you can still find people in your friend group who haven't seen it and be the hero that tells them to watch this like unsung movie. Because it's fucking great and not enough people have watched it. That's what I'm saying.
Now the ending, mild cliffhanger.
You think they got him out?
I think so, because I think I honestly think that was the whole point of him saying. They have the scene with Maria Bello, who plays Hugh Jackman's character's wife,
right,
and the mother of the one little girl. She is talking to Jake Gyllenhaal at the hospital at the end, and she says, "Do you think you'll find my husband?" He says, "Yes." And she goes, "And he'll probably go to jail." And he said, "Yeah, probably." And I think the point of that scene was, so when you saw the cliffhanger ending, you realize, oh, he is going to find him. They've established so many times through that movie that Jake Gyllenhaal knows what the fuck he's doing. I mean, there's that scene at the candlelit vigil where he sees the guy that becomes a suspect.
Yeah.
And he literally just looks at him, and it keeps staring at him to the point where the guy runs. You know, so...
Yeah. All those, I mean, him like running through the house. There's so many great set pieces in it, like going back to these people's houses. There's the scene with all the snakes and the chests that was crazy. Like, there's just so much memorable, great stuff in it, and it makes you realize how lazy most of these types of movies are.
Yeah, that snake thing freaked me out. I don't like snakes at all.
Yeah.
And then, even when Melissa Leo says, my husband left me, he had a thing with snakes, and I don't like to talk about it. Even then, I wasn't like, oh, she did it.
Yeah.
Even then, I still didn't think she had done it. It's it reminded me a lot of The Prestige, in the sense that I love The Prestige. It's one of my favorite films.
I need to rewatch it.
But it reminded me of that in the sense of it's this sort of tour de force, also starring Hugh Jackman. It's 2 hours and change. It's crazy. The story is completely evolving the entire time. And it wasn't until the end where I was like, oh my God, they're twins. And I was like, that's the most obvious fucking thing.
Right.
And it never even occurred to me.
Right.
I was sitting there going, Christian Bale is magical. How is he magical? I don't understand.
Yeah.
You know, so this movie was like that to me too, where I really didn't know what was happening until it was happening.
Well, that's the best kind of twist, and that's why this is the hardest movie to do well, is because you don't want the audience... If a twist comes so far out of left field, the audience is like, really? Like, you're just jerking me around. But if it's too obvious, you know, there are people who watch these movies and they're like, you know, scene one, they know who it is. I feel like Prisoners is very surprising. They did it very well. And to keep you guessing for 2.5 hours. Because then also you're killing off people who could have been suspects. They did a great job.
I'll say this, too. It's such a good movie that they, in a forgivable way, do the thing that I don't care for in many movies, which our friend James Pinkstone refers to as the Bond villain technique. You know, nobody really likes it when a criminal or the bad guy at the end of the movie just reveals his plan lazily.
Right.
But Melissa Leo kind of does that at the end of this movie, but they've given you so much that at that point you're like, I appreciate right now just succinctly hearing what the fuck has been happening.
Yeah, and I bought it because, you know, she thought she was on this righteous journey.
Right.
So she wants to let the world know what she's doing and that it's for good. I mean, I bought that she would do it, personally.
Yeah, it was...
It's like a steel trap. I mean, everything works. Everything is set up. Everything is called back. I have no complaints about Prisoners. I think it's an A+ movie.
Daughter goes missing. Hugh Jackman ends up missing.
Yeah. with the whistle, her whistle, the daughter's whistle.
Yeah, that the daughter did find. The mom said
Yeah.
she thinks she's misremembering it.
Yeah.
Yeah, crazy film.
Just
I
like
loved
the way the neighborhood is shot at the beginning. Like in your average movie, that's just like an exterior shot of the house, and then we go into the house for Thanksgiving. Like every shot is just. It was a movie where people gave a shit, and that's always what makes you a classic.
The one thing I didn't understand, you might have missed this too. I don't know. There's a part where they tell you that Gyllenhaal's dad is a Graterford. This is right near where I grew up, by the way. Graterford Prison was near where I lived. In fact, my dad, who was a deacon, I believe, used to go to Graterford when we lived there to visit prisoners and like have like confessions and shit with them.
Yeah.
Or church visits with them and stuff. And but anyway, or no, he would go to give them communion. Excuse me. But anyway, they say that his dad was a guard at the prison, and then later you see Gyllenhaal looking at the article that says his dad killed himself, and then they show you an address in the article, and I didn't, and they specifically they do a close up of the address. You're supposed to know that it's significant, but I never realized. I was like, what? I don't
remember
that.
I'd have to watch it again.
It cuts to Gyllenhaal, cuts back to the computer screen where the article is, and the last shot is the camera tilts down to the address. It's very deliberate.
Yeah, I don't remember that. I'll watch it again.
Maybe
I want to.
I don't know. And I love, too, the detail that the priest who kills the pedophile is a pedophile. Or is a sex offender, I believe. I think they say that. They think like, and then this guy like does this crazy extreme righteous thing to account for his sins.
Right.
So, pretty fucked up movie in the best way possible.
Yeah.
Pat, you told me to watch The Time. Guess what I've been doing?
It's time.
I've been watching That Time. It's 8:13.
Guys, we are going to see the Pixies. We'll be back more than likely with Guardians of the Galaxy 2, but I will keep you abreast on the Facebook page.
But we're around now. Consistently will be coming out.
There'll be no more of these hiati or hiatuses.
At least not for a while.
I got nothing to plug except, keep my pilot in your thoughts and prayers. I would love to be able to bring you a show every week with Joe DeRosa in it. I mean, what a dream. Talk about bringing We'll See You in Hell to the masses. And I'm on Twitter and Instagram at the Patrick Walsh.
Pat, we share the same dreams as we always have, except ever since we locked eyes in that Italian restaurant. All those
a bottle
years ago.
of red. Ooh, a bottle of white.
At Joe DeRosa Comedy on Twitter and Instagram. As always, if you can go help me fix those album reviews on Amazon and iTunes, I'd appreciate it. Go leave this podcast a nice review if you like. Like us and follow us on Facebook. Join the group. I don't think I have any. Yeah, I'll be in San Francisco for Cluster Fest in June.
The Seinfeld one?
Yeah, Seinfeld,
cool.
Ice Cube.
Okay.
Bunch of people. So I'll be up there performing June 3rd and 4th at the festival. So, maybe I'll see you there.
All right. And we're not doing Joe's scary corner of stuff. We'll do it next time.
Yeah, I forgot to do it. I would have done it earlier.
Guys, thanks. Keep the comments and everything coming. We love it. Go to the Facebook page. Emily does a great job running it. We'll see you in hell on Facebook. And that's it. See you next week.
That was a HeadGum podcast.